Cup dinner. I think it's an absolutely brilliant initiative. Well done to the team that's involved.
There's a place for entrepreneurs to go and test if their selling abilities would work, but it's also a place for them to connect with the like-minded entrepreneurs, different ages, of different color, from different backgrounds. It's always the pitches that one gets to listen to, and also the feedback from the guys, in the crowd.
Our feedback was amazing. A lot of intelligent people that attend the hookup dinners. So from that,
good morning.
A lot of solid.
Hey guys, welcome to our live series. Are we on? Okay, cool. All right, welcome to our live series, that Africa podcast series. As hustlers say in the ghetto, we're aiming to get rich or die trying, So we're looking at solutions, we're looking at every kind of solutions that can help us make money during this trying time, with the COVID-19 outbreak. We know that a lot of things are at stake. In the upcoming stream, we speak to Ulwazim Laba, the founder of Zulu International, an advocate for Global Fund Advocates Network, to mention some of the things that he's involved in. He also has interest in tech, just in general, and also he's involved with an organic cosmetics brand where he's like built partnerships in Ghana and stuff like that. He's going to tell us more about that when he logs on. Please just shoot your answers and your comments, and we'll share with him. Another reminder, we're holding these daily dialogues with our tribe entrepreneurs and innovators about life and business in Africa, and we're sharing hacks on how to make it out alive as responsible citizens of Africa. We have three key recurring themes centered around access to education, trade, and investment. So if your business speaks to any of those three, please feel free to hit us up, and then let's have a conversation about it on the screen. And also, if you need assistance with purchase order funding, business compliance, SMME development, please just click. The number is going to be on your screen in a minute. Send a WhatsApp to the number. State what you'd like to be assisted with, and then we and then we can help you out. I'm going to have Ulwazi on in a minute. Hey. Hello, Azi.
Hey, how are you?
I'm all right. Are you good?
I'm awesome. I'm awesome.
I still can't
see
your face. Me? No.
You still cannot see my face?
Oh, yes. There we go.
So this is Ulwazim Laba, yes.
Yes, I did the introduction, but I don't think I did you justice. Let me just go over it again. Ulwazim Laba, he's the founder of Zulu International, an advocate for Global Fund Advocates Network. He's also involved in tech, and he's also involved in organic cosmetics line with partners in Ghana. He's going to tell us more about that as we go on. Yes?
So far, so good.
Okay, cool. Loizi, I mean, today we are asking entrepreneurs, did you eat? There's a whole lot of things going on right now, but I think for the smaller guys, for the smaller businesses, some of them are not eating because their value chain has been disturbed. So we're trying to find solutions on how we can help jump in and help those entrepreneurs who have the bare minimum, who are not trading, because they literally survived from moving from one place to another and selling their product to the people. Have you bumped into or have you seen entrepreneurs who are really, really struggling in such a way that they don't have anything to eat, they don't have data, and they don't have airtime to access opportunities that are being let out by the government or other corporates?
I can't say I have, although I am aware that the impact of lockdown and the onset of COVID-19 epidemic has disrupted a lot of lives and people
Yes.
in general.
Yeah.
And so I would imagine a person who is an on-street entrepreneur would have been hugely impacted in terms of their economic um, uh, engagements. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you are in Durban. We mostly interact with people from here, the side of Joburg. How are things going? How are things going that side? I mean, obviously, very little movement. Businesses are closing down. But how would you say it has impacted? I mean, the city at this time. How's the impact?
Um, I think it would pretty much be the same, except that I would urge all of us to follow the government directive in terms of social
Mm-hmm.
distancing and keeping at home.
Yeah.
I have been cooped up in my place here. Luckily, I can have garden and all of that stuff, which alleviates a lot of the anxiety and stress that
Yeah.
is associated with being locked up in a house that does not have space for movement.
Mm.
So yeah, that's the difference. And but I do
Yeah.
think in all areas we need to make sure that we we adhere to what has been given by the government as a directive.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, would you mind taking us through your new normal? What's a daily schedule for you like? And maybe you can just
Okay.
highlight a bit on what you do every day in terms of business as well.
So we've been stepping up the fight with the Global Fund,
Mm-hmm.
and most of my day is consumed by I think Zoom in calls to make sure that we keep up with our intention for Global Goals 2030.
Yes.
In the Global Fund, it is fighting the three epidemics: malaria, TB, and HIV. So a lot of
Yeah.
my time is spent being on calls, which is quite exhausting. I did not realize how much that could be exhausting. So
Mm.
I wake up in the morning, do my normal pap breakfast, and get myself ready to deal with the day. There's a lot of
Yeah.
documentation that is shared often. I also get involved with my Ghana partners with regards to planning for our launch and landing our Skin Love product in South Africa. We were
Yeah.
delayed by the lockdown. We are also busy with our tech partners to
Mm-hmm.
develop a solution that I cannot so much speak about right now. It's going to be absolutely exciting for for health data
Yeah.
and tracking. Yeah, so it's exciting times.
I mean, as a person who travels a lot, do you see international trade resuming anytime soon? And I mean, one would imagine that, you know, the local ecosystem would not be affected that much, especially for small businesses, because we're under the impression that we get everything local. But this has definitely opened up a new eye. We see if the bigger guys are not getting the work done, then us smaller businesses are also not getting the work done. I mean, just to close that gap between international trade and local trade, how can SMMEs take this time to make sure, you know, the money still circulates and you're not entirely depending on the bigger guys, on the outside guys, to make sure that business still goes on our side?
Um, so my thinking of it is pretty much how we've been told to keep our hands away from our faces.
Yeah.
However, the body still does have the hand. And
Yes.
so you've got to be careful how to use the hand moving forward. If you
Yes.
have not sanitized the hand, keep it away from the face. So business people and entrepreneurs have got to think about how do they use what they have differently. So the
Mm-hmm.
business still is the
Mm-hmm.
same. People still will need a product.
Yeah.
So there's still a market. It is just thinking about how do we clean up how we've been doing things,
Yes.
how do we get resources
Yeah.
differently, how do we reorganize ourselves. I look at the Somali business model. So
Mm-hmm.
the Somali economy in townships has been about collaboration. So we
Yes.
fail because we want to individualize our business. And
Yes.
so when 20 people are buying together, they've got buying power. And so they can reduce the
Mm-hmm.
cost of getting the product. And
Yeah.
so perhaps it's an opportunity for us to say, hold up, who is doing what way? Let's do that mapping. How
Yeah.
can we leverage what we do? How much do you spend? How much do I
Yeah.
spend?
Yeah.
How much can we take to market together as opposed to me alone?
Yes.
The originating question was, would the global markets open? Of course they will. It's a
Yes.
matter of timing. And
Yes.
also, there's going to be a lot of research that goes into the entrepreneur. I spent a lot of time researching what are the opportunities that exist now for the same business that did not exist 2 months ago.
Correct. I really appreciate what you said about the nature of collaboration. It's you see it a lot with small businesses. When we do something, we want to own it and it's mine, and we want to hold on to it. And every time somebody tries to come in, jump in, and try to help you, it's so hard to let go because we're under this mentality that no, it's mine. I have to make it work. But when you live in Africa, you have to learn to adapt to the sense of community. It's how our fathers survived. You know what I'm saying? So I really love the
That's
sense
right.
of like coming together, which is what we were discussing just a few days ago. How we can, as Africans, benefit from stokvels, the 44 billion rand industry. It's all in the power of coming together as people.
Indeed, it is. Indeed, it is. So, if you think about the young men who came up with the wonderful innovation of turn up speakers, Siyabonga Ndwalane,
Galan, yes,
we've partnered with him to because he's a tech guy,
yes,
and he thinks out of the box. I
hmm
don't have his capability, neither do I want to copy it, but I want to work with him and see where we can go together. And
yes.
perhaps there's things he will get from us. So it's opening those doors. And I've known him for 2 years, but
Oh,
never thought we could work together.
yeah,
The lockdown has brought an opportunity for us to sit and say, hey, let's think something through.
yes,
So I encourage entrepreneurs, whether it's a startup or it has been operating, to really think about collaboration.
yes,
Ask yourself, do you have the capability? Do you need capability? Ask yourself, do you have human resources to meet
hmm
your intended goal? If you don't have, leverage, leverage, leverage.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I love. Let me just highlight here who Ulazi is talking about. Usiyabonga Ndolani, he actually pitched in one of our third sessions. We have third Durban in KZN, and he was actually one of the pitch winners. So hey, it's great to see you guys striving out there after you've been on our platforms. All
Yeah,
right.
absolutely, absolutely.
Now let's talk the hard truth. The truth about the working middle class, the missing middle. They'll probably be hit the hardest by the pandemic. They don't qualify for government grants, but also they're not really poor, but they don't qualify for government grants. But if there is no work, if Metropolitan is laying off 20, 30 people by the end of this month, this person will surely not survive the next 2 months. I mean, what kind of advice would you sort of give people like that? And in terms of like finances, letting go of a certain things, downgrading the lifestyle, and stuff like that.
Um, it's going to be a mind shift. And so,
Yeah,
for the longest time, we've been married to the things of our lives, not
yeah,
the life of our life. And so, you are married to the car because it gives you a certain level of, I think, respectability or comfort. And that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying
yeah,
it's a bad thing.
yeah,
I'm not shooting down anyone. I'm just saying it gives an opportunity to say and ask hard questions and say, do I really need the car for mobility?
yeah,
Because I have options. And so if I have options, why do I not for the next 6 months let go of the car? It's going to free up some money,
yeah.
and it's going to take some pressure off my mind. And so
Mm-hmm.
I worry about mental health as soon as
Yes,
people are laid off work more than I'm
yes,
worried about their ability to eat. So
Yeah.
mental health issues are going to be serious issues. The next pandemic is possibly mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Um, where economic hardship is concerned, I don't want to minimize anyone's economic hardship. So a
Yeah.
person who did not have before is hard hit as much as a person who had before.
Yeah.
And each individual has a right to feel how they feel about what we are all going
Yes.
through.
Yes.
Mm.
I mean, another conversation with that is that, government government and corporates are trying to make sure that the majority of, the poorest communities are fed. And obviously, there'll always be quarrels around such things. People are like, no, don't feed those people, take the money and do that. But personally, as I understand it, I think it's important to make sure that everybody everybody eats. And I say this because I'm a female who lives alone, and I'm afraid, Uguti, if my neighbor next door is not eating, then somebody might just walk into my house in the middle of the night. So it's quite important that we do support these initiatives to help others eat, because at the end of the day, that would also affect the crime stats in our country. We all know our country doesn't necessarily stand in one of the best positions when it comes to crime and things like that. And I think, yes, we should support these initiatives of making sure that entrepreneurs and everybody who does not have access to money or food, they're eating, as long as we can contribute. I don't know, what's your take on that? Should we still be giving away grants? Are these grants helping, or are they just making people more lazy?
So I've got two thoughts on that. So
Yeah.
the first one is social protection of the citizens.
Yes.
The first level is social protection of the most vulnerable. So adolescent girls and young women are vulnerable.
Yes.
Children are vulnerable. Unemployed people are vulnerable. People in rural areas who are poor are vulnerable. People on the streets are vulnerable. So that social protection is absolutely necessary. We
Yes.
cannot do without it.
Yeah.
We are going through a really hard time where all of us need to feel like we are protected
Mm-hmm.
in our countries. And so the grants form a part of social protection so that we are cushioned through the process that we're in. Um, I do not ever want to think helping someone makes them lazy. That's not
Yes.
the thinking.
Yes.
Our foundation, Life by Design, headed brilliantly by Tabile and in partnership with Tembegile Mandela Foundation, headed by Un Dilega, we
Mm-hmm.
raise money to support government because there's got to be public private partnerships in
Yes.
making sure that all of us can go through this process with dignity, with
Yes.
respect, and with food in our stomachs.
Yes.
Um, the other bit that comes out as a layer in this onion is
Mm-hmm.
crime, it is
Mm-hmm.
corruption, it is laziness. That we
Yeah.
can put on the side and deal with it differently, targeted and differentially. But we can't put everything in one soup and think it's going to be a drinkable soup. We're going to be confused. What are we dealing with? Are we dealing with hunger? Let's focus on hunger. If
Yes.
we are dealing with crime and criminal issues, let's focus that to the process that will deal with that. We can
Yeah.
highlight it, but not make it a talking point.
I totally get that. I mean, while still having the conversation, in addressing the realities, how are you framing the conversation around the impact of the virus with younger ones, with children? I understand you stand mostly as a humanitarian in some of the work that you do.
Um, Education, 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 education. So there needs to be conversations about what is going on. I can imagine the little ones. I am in a rural setting just outside of PMB,
Mm-hmm.
and the normal for them would have been waking up to go to
Yeah.
school, to play with other children,
Yeah.
to have food at a certain time in the day, to interact with teachers, to so that has been shifted. And
Yes.
in a young mind, that it doesn't make sense. So at first it was
Yeah.
nice. Perhaps for the first 2 days there
Mm,
was a
mm.
holiday. Now it has become what exactly is going on, and they perhaps don't even have the language to ask the right
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah.
They do not have the framing to say, I am comparing this to another. And so young people need to be engaged and have conversations that
Yeah.
are triggered by them and their questions rather than
Yes.
us giving them a framing for
Imposing.
answers that they have not asked. Yes.
Yeah.
So I think the protection of the child mind, and I think I can understand why some teachers want to go back to school, because they are aware that they are educating some of them um, uh, children with disabilities, and they vary, and so
Correct.
they have moved from routine and care to people who have not been trained to care for them. A mother does not necessarily get training on how to raise their kid. Someone
Mm.
goes to an institution of higher learning to learn how to do that, and so that's the
Mm-hmm.
missing
Yes.
part in this in this puzzle.
Mm.
However, it still needs to be done right at the right
Mm-hmm.
time with all the considerations.
Yeah. And what
Yeah.
about the conversation around money? I mean, obviously, I was just listening to the radio yesterday. A lady was saying, usually my kids would wake up and have Kellogg's, but for the past 2 weeks, we've had to make some adjustments and say, okay, now we only going to have porridge. We keep the Kellogg's for Saturday. How do you frame that conversation around money? It might not be fair to have to put it on your kids and say, listen, uh, mommy is not making enough money right now, but just to make them understand, how do you start the conversation financially to address what has happened in your household with regards to the effects of COVID-19?
Uh, uh, so I will tread very carefully on this one because it's
Yes.
very personal for each individual. And my
Yeah.
answer is not a universal answer at all. However, my mind says we've got to allow ourselves, before we even have children, to have the courage to have very difficult conversations.
Mm-hmm.
So either with our parents are an example, our teachers are another example, our friends are an example, our
Mm-hmm.
aunts, extended families. Because
Yeah.
when we have learned how to be in a very difficult conversation without
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
answers, we allow ourselves to be able to ask the questions and allow time to simmer and percolate answers. And so in this
Mm.
conversation, for instance, I do not know the flow of the conversation. I just
Yeah.
need to believe and trust that what I say is
Mm-hmm.
truthful from
Mm-hmm.
me. Even if it isn't true for another person, it's got to be true
Mm-hmm.
for me. So even in a conversation with a child is born complete. We've got to also allow the child in their completeness to make
Yes.
sense of the data that we are giving. And as an adult, we've got to give chunks of data that make sense to the child at the moment, but
Yeah.
open the door for the child to come back and say, Mommy, but why exactly not Kellogg's on Friday if you
Mm-hmm.
said weekend? Because Friday is a weekend. So
Understood.
you say, but
Yeah.
if we eat on Friday, we won't have enough for all the Fridays in the month. So
Yes.
it changes the complexity to
Yeah.
complication. So
Yeah.
it's just a complication now, not a complexity. You've made the data consumable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. I'm going to ask one last question before we wrap up. I mean, obviously, other businesses may never be able to bounce back, from this, but also opportunities, as you said before when you started, that this pandemic has opened up some opportunities. Maybe as a small business owner, where are the industries that are currently booming right now? Where do you think we can reshift our focus to in order to step into those markets and keep making money? In short, where should we be looking for business? Where should we be looking for money, as you have experienced?
Okay, I'll answer that twofold.
Yeah.
Uh, I've come to know if you look for money, you might
Mhm.
never be satisfied. You've got You've
We have
got to
to
look for.
eat, Lwazi. We have to eat. And food
I
costs
agree.
money.
I absolutely agree. I'm just saying, if we try to stop looking for money, but
Yeah,
rather look for gaps. Where are the gaps? Because
yeah,
that's where the money will be. What
yeah.
do you give for a reward? So the reward will sometimes be money. Sometimes it will be a connection with someone who takes
Mm-hmm.
you to where the money is. But if you go to a meeting to say, I just want to know where the next big thing is,
Yeah.
and you meet Luazi, but Luazi is a person who might help because you relate to him. 2 years down the line, you are in money. Someone will think, how did that happen? You were not looking for
Strengthening
money,
your
you were looking for a
network.
connection. Yeah.
Strengthening
So
networks.
so
Yeah.
it's networks at the forefront. Build
Yeah.
solid networks. You will not have enough ears to know where the money is or nose to sniff where the money is. But when we are more than one, we have a higher chance of getting to where the money is.
Yeah.
But to answer you directly, I think social entrepreneurship is a big thing now. The
Yeah.
masks, I think, personal protective gear, everyone is moving that
Yes.
direction. It's short lived, it will not be
Yes.
sustainable.
Yes.
So
It
I
will
would
not.
not suggest everyone goes towards making
Mm-hmm.
sanitizers. We're
Mm-hmm.
tired of that. Let's think post pandemic. What sort of
Yeah.
life will we have? Food is a big
Mm,
thing.
mm, mm.
So how do we make sure people? We now realize that going to town should not be a thing.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that groceries are available to people. I saw, I
Yeah.
think, on social media, there's a gentleman who now delivers at home. So it's
Yeah.
an upgrade of the Uber solution. So
Yes.
instead of booking Uber for me to go somewhere, I book it
Yeah.
to bring me something,
Yes.
my grocery list. So there's quite a number of innovative solutions that we can come up with.
Mm, No, I appreciate that. My last and final question, Razi, what problem are you solving amid the pandemic?
What problem am I solving?
Yes.
Oh, that's you got me there. You got me there. You got me there. So the problem I'm solving for myself is my mind.
Yes.
So there's a lot of things that I need to unthink,
Yeah.
relearn, and unlearn some. From a business point of view, the problem I want to solve is a problem of information
Mm-hmm.
sharing. And I realize that in Africa we have a huge problem of information sharing. But it's not just
In
Africa,
in
because if you
in
look
what sense? Sorry, sorry.
in the sense that for me to make a informed decisions for myself, I
Mm-hmm.
need to have the courage to know that I have a responsibility to me. So to get to responsibility to myself, I need certain information that guides me to get to a decision
Mm-hmm.
about how to keep myself safe. We should
Yeah.
not have to fight with each other for social distancing, but we did not know what that means before.
Yes. Yes.
So in our African cultures, being together has been a thing. We sleep in
Yeah.
the same beds and we are three,
Yes.
and now there's social distancing. How do we sleep now a meter
Mm,
apart from each other?
mm,
Yeah.
mm.
So there's those things that are going through my mind.
Thank you so much for that, Lwazi. I think Ubusi Pungula on Facebook agrees with you. Actually, make data more consumable, which is what you highlighted. And then Useliboko was just reiterating what you said. If you look for money, you might never be satisfied. Rather look for gaps. And I
Yep.
think Mina and Lwazi, we hit each other on this because Mina, I'm all about the money. And I'm learning something new today.
I just want to clarify. I love money myself. I really, really
Thank
love money.
you.
I'm about money.
We are
It,
about that
yeah, but
money.
yeah, ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching.
Thank you so much, Lazi, for sharing this knowledge with you. If anybody would like to get into contact with you with any of the projects that you do, please share your social links with our followers.
Okay. I am mostly on Facebook, Lwazim Laba. I can give my WhatsApp number also.
Yes.
+27767253375.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so, so much, Lwazi. Thank you for being here and sharing your insights with us. We appreciate you.
Step up the fight.
Always. All right, guys. That was Ulwazi Mlaba from Durban. Asia, no. He's the founder of Zulu International and an advocate for Global Fund Advocates Network, to mention some of the things he's involved in. And yeah, you heard it for yourself. We're holding daily dialogues with our tribes, entrepreneurs, and innovators about life and business in Africa, on hacks on how to make it out alive as a responsible citizen of Africa. So if you have any comments, if you have suggestions, please feel free to hit us up. And also, we have launched, we have on the way our Third Cares campaign, where we are helping entrepreneurs who are less fortunate, who don't have anything to eat, who don't have a meal in front of them, to fight the big fight. You know, we're trying to help them get food, we're trying to help them get data so that they can access information and opportunities. So if you have anything that you'd like to add on that, if you would like to contribute and help make an entrepreneur's life better, please hit us up. The number is on the screen. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much.